I want to be honest with you about something. When I first got into real estate, I was making mistakes on social media that was costing me business. Not because I wasn't posting, I was posting, but I was doing it wrong. And the biggest mistake I personally made, the one I wish I could go back and fix, was not posting enough video content. I was hiding behind graphics, behind flyers, behind polished posts that looked professional, but never actually showed people who I was. And because of that, I was invisible. Not invisible on social media, invisible as a person. Nobody knew what I sounded like. Nobody knew how I thought. Nobody felt like they knew me. And in real estate, where people choose agents based on who they trust, that invisibility was costing me deals I never even knew I was losing. Today, I want to walk you through the three biggest social media mistakes I see real estate agents make, including the one I made myself, and exactly how to fix every single one of them. By the end of this video, you'll have a clear, simple framework for what to post, how often to post, and what kind of content actually builds trust and drives business. My name is Scott Kumler. I'm a real estate team leader based in Arizona. Let's get into it. Before I get into the mistakes, I want to make sure we're aligned on why social media matters so much for real estate agents specifically. Because some agents still treat social media as optional, a nice to have, something they'll get to eventually. And I want to challenge that thinking directly. By year two of posting consistently on social media, 50% of my business was coming from social media. Half of my entire business. Not from paid ads, not from cold outreach, from people who've been watching my content, who felt like they knew me before we ever spoke, and who reached out when they were ready because I was the agent they already trusted. That is the power of social media done right. It's not about going viral. It's not about having the most followers. It's about showing up consistently in a way that builds genuine trust with the people already in your world, so that when they need an agent or when someone they know needs an agent, your name is the first one that comes out of their mouth. That is what we are building toward. And these three mistakes, if you are making them, are the things standing between where you are now and that result. Let's fix them. The first and most common mistake I see real estate agents make on social media is only posting real estate content. Just listed, just sold, market updates, interest rate updates, tips for buyers, tips for sellers, all real estate all the time. And I completely understand why agents do this. They want to be seen as professionals. They want to be known as the real estate experts. So they post real estate content because that's what they're trying to sell. Here's the problem with that approach. Real estate is a relationship business. People don't hire the agent with the most just listed posts. They hire the agent they feel like they know, the agent they like, the agent they trust. And you cannot build that kind of relationship with someone purely through real estate content, because real estate content tells people what you do. Personal content tells people who you are. And in a world where every agent is posting the same market stats and listing flyers, the agent who lets people into their actual life is the one who stands out. So here's the framework I use and teach, and I want you to write this down. The 5 content pillars. Instead of posting only real estate content, you're going to build your social media presence around 5 content pillars. Only one of those 5 pillars is real estate. The other 4 are personal. Here's what 5 pillars looks like. Pillar 1, real estate. This is your professional content, market updates, buying and selling tips, open house announcements, client wins. 1 out of every 5 posts should fall into this category. Pillar 2, family and relationships. Share your family, your kids, your spouse, your friends, the moments that matter to you outside of work. People connect with people, and nothing humanizes you faster than letting people see the relationships that define your life. Pillar 3, health and lifestyle. What do you do to take care of yourself? Do you work out? Do you have a morning routine? Do you cook, hike, travel? This pillar shows people that you are real, 3-dimensional human beings, not just a real estate robot. Pillar 4, personal values and mindset. What do you believe in? What drives you? What lessons has life taught you? This pillar is where your authenticity lives, where people see what you actually stand for. This content attracts people who shares your values, which usually means they're the clients and partners you actually want. Pillar 5, behind the scenes of your business. Show people what your actual workday looks like. Setting up signs for an open house, driving to a listing appointment, celebrating and closing with a client. This content does double duty. It reminds people you are a working real estate agent while also showing them what your personality is like on the job. 5 pillars, 1 real estate, 4 personal. That ratio is what builds a social media presence that people actually want to follow. Not because you're constantly selling them, but because they genuinely enjoy seeing your content show up in their feed. And when they genuinely enjoy your content, they remember you. And when they remember you, they call you. The second biggest mistake I see agents make on social media is inconsistency. They post 5 times in 1 week when they're feeling motivated, then they disappear for 3 weeks because their life got busy. Then they come back, post a couple of times, and disappear again. And they wonder why their social media isn't producing anything. Here's what I want you to understand about how social media actually works, specifically on Facebook, which is where most real estate agents are spending their time. When you post something on Facebook, the majority of your followers do not see it. Not even close. Facebook's algorithm shows your post to a fraction of your audience by default. The more consistently you post, the more engagement your content gets, the more people Facebook shows your content to over time, which means the agents who post consistently are building reach every single week. And the agents who post sporadically, who show up and disappear, are essentially starting from scratch every time they come back. Because the algorithm rewards consistency and it penalizes absence. So every time you disappear for 2 or 3 weeks, you're not just missing the opportunity to be seen during that time, you're actually losing the ground you had already built. Now here are the practical questions. How consistent is consistent enough? And I want to give you a real honest answer, not an aspirational one. The right posting frequency is the one you can actually sustain. 3 times a week, every single week for 2 years is infinitely more powerful than 7 times a week for 6 weeks and then nothing. Pick a number you can commit to, put it in your schedule, then protect it. Treat your posting schedule the same way you treat your prospecting time, as a non-negotiable activity that happens regardless of how busy things get. Because here's the truth about social media consistency that most agents don't fully believe until they experience it. The results compound. Month 1 of consistent posting, almost nobody notices. Month 3, your reach starts to grow. Month 6, people start telling you they see you everywhere. Month 12, your database is warmer than it has ever been. Year 2, 50% of my business is coming from the audience you spent 2 years consistently showing up for. That is what consistency produces. Not overnight, but compound over time, it becomes one of the most valuable assets in your entire business. The third mistake, and the one I feel most strongly about, is agents who fill their social media feeds with graphics, flyers, and AI-generated content instead of showing up as a real human being. And I say this as someone who's made this exact mistake early in my career. I hid behind polished content because it felt safer. A nice graphic with the right colors and fonts felt more professional than pointing a phone camera at myself. It felt like I was doing it right. But here's what polished, impersonal content actually communicated to the people seeing it. Nothing. Graphics don't build relationships. Flyers don't build trust. AI generated posts don't make anyone feel like they know you. They might look nice. They might even get a few likes from people who are being polite, but they do not move anyone closer to picking up the phone and calling you. Because trust is not built through design. Trust is built through human connection. And human connection requires you to actually show up as a human. Here's what I mean by authentic content. And I want to be very specific because I don't want this to be vague. Authentic content is you on camera talking. Not perfectly lit, not perfectly scripted, just you sharing something real in your own voice, in your own words. Your phone propped up on a dashboard, your face, your personality, your genuine perspective. That kind of content, even when it's imperfect, connects in a way that no graphic ever could. Because people can feel the difference between real and manufactured. They scroll past the graphics, they stop for the person. Authentic content is also behind the scenes moments. Setting up signs for an open house, filmed on your phone while you're doing it. You walking through a property before showing, talking about what you're thinking. You sitting in your car between appointments, sharing something you just learned or experienced. These moments are not polished, they're real. And real is what people share. Real is what people remember. Real is what people trust. Now, I want to be clear about something. I'm not saying you can never use a graphic. There is a place for professional branding in your content. What I'm saying is that if the majority of what you post is design content rather than real content, you are building a brand that looks professional but feels empty. And empty does not convert. Authenticity converts. So the next time you sit down to create content, before you open Canva, before you ask AI to write something for you, ask yourself one question. What could I just say on camera right now that would genuinely be useful or genuinely real to people in my world? Then pick up your phone and say it. That is the content that builds the business. I want to come back to something I said at the very beginning of this video. The biggest social media mistake I personally made when I first got into real estate was not posting enough video content. I was posting, but I was hiding. I was using graphics, flyers, and polished posts to fill my feed because pointing a camera at myself and just talking felt uncomfortable. What would people think? Would it look professional enough? What if I said something wrong? Those fears kept me off camera for longer than they should have. And what I missed during the time was the most powerful trust-building tool available to me. My face, my voice, my personality, my genuine perspective, the things that make me me. Nobody builds a relationship with a Canva graphic. They build a relationship with a person. And video is the closest thing to being in the room with someone that social media can offer. When I finally committed to showing up on camera consistently, everything changed. Not overnight, but over months of consistent video content. My audience started to feel like they actually knew me. And by year 2, 50% of my business was coming from people who had actually been watching. I'm telling you this not to impress you, but to press upon you that the uncomfortable thing, the thing that feels scary and imperfect and exposed, is almost always the thing that works the best. Pick up the camera, show up, be real. That is a social media strategy that builds a real estate business. Let's bring this all together. Mistake 1, only posting real estate content. Fix it with the 5 content pillars. 1 pillar for real estate, 4 pillars for the personal content that lets people know who you actually are. People hire agents they feel they know, so show them. Mistake 2, Posting inconsistently. Pick a posting frequency you can actually sustain and protect it like a non-negotiable appointment. The algorithm rewards consistency and punishes absence. Every time you disappear, you lose ground you already earned. Mistake 3. Filling your feed with graphics, flyers, and AI-generated content. Replace polish with real. Pick up the camera, talk to your audience the same way you're talking to a friend. Authentic content builds trust. Trust builds business. And the personal mistake I made, not posting enough video. Start now. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be real. Social media is one of the most powerful tools available to a real estate agent in 2026, but only if you use it right. Fix these 3 mistakes and I promise you the results will follow. If you're a real estate agent who knows you need to get better at social media, but you're not sure where to start, what to post, or how to make it actually produce business, I want to help you figure that out. Social media strategy is something I actively coach agents on my team through. And watching agents go from invisible to top of mind in their market through consistent, authentic content is one of my favorite things to be a part of. I do one-on-one Zoom calls with agents who want to talk through their specific situation, what they're currently posting, what's not working, and what a real social media plan looks like for their business. No pitch, no pressure, just an honest conversation about how to make social media actually work for you. The link to book directly on my calendar is in the description below. Takes about 30 seconds to book a time that works for you. And if this video gave you something you can put into action today, subscribe to this channel. I post content every week for real estate agents who want to build a real business using real strategies that actually work. I'm Scott Kumler. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.